Information and capital, the two fuels powering the modern world. Flint West reporting. Let's get something straight before we go any further. The world doesn't run on vibes. It doesn't run on ideology. It doesn't even run on innovation in the way people like to romanticize it. The world runs on two fuels: information and capital. Everything else is downstream. Information is the spark. Capital is the firewood. One without the other gives you nothing but smoke. You can have the best idea in the world, perfect strategy, flawless timing, airtight logic, but without resources, it stays trapped in someone's head, a notebook, a white paper, or a university lab. Untouched, unused, economically invisible. And you can have oceans of money, endowments, balance sheets, sovereign wealth, but without information, without direction, without a plan, that capital just sloshes around looking for yield, misallocates itself, inflates bubbles, and eventually destroys value. That tension between people with ideas and no money and people with money and no ideas is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Most of the world we live in exists to arbitrage that gap. Markets, institutions, firms, banks, venture capital, Wall Street, universities, defense departments, research labs, they are not random inventions. They are coordination engines. Because civilization is not built by individuals acting alone. Civilization is built by systems that coordinate information and capital in tandem, at scale. That's the part people miss. Coordination is the real game, not intelligence, not wealth, not morality. Coordination, the winners, historically and structurally, are not the smartest people or the richest people. They are the ones who can align knowledge, money, institutions, incentives, and timing into a single executable strategy. That's why intellectual property matters, but only conditionally. IP without capital is potential energy. It's valid, but inert. And that's why capital formation matters, but only conditionally. Capital without insight is blind. It moves, but it doesn't progress. This content is brought to you by Bobby Gigs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Now zoom out. Look at the United States through this lens, and suddenly the architecture makes sense. On one side, you have Wall Street, capital formation, liquidity, venture funding, risk pricing, scale, the machinery that turns dollars into execution. On the other side, you have higher education, universities, research institutions, and defense-linked R&D, the information engine, the place where ideas are generated, refined, stress-tested, and abstracted into usable knowledge. The internet didn't come from nowhere. AI didn't fall out of the sky. They came from decades of research, often publicly funded, often military adjacent, often incubated inside universities, before being commercialized by private capital. That pairing is not accidental. It's evolutionary. Information gets discovered, refined, and formalized. Capital picks it up, scales it, deploys it, and extracts value from it. Together, they form a loop. Break the loop, and progress stalls. And that's why coordination is not just important, it's existential. Civilization behaves like an organism. Multiple moving parts, different functions, different incentives. Nothing works in isolation. Everything depends on everything else arriving at the right place, at the right time, in the right proportion. Coordination is the strategy that binds those parts together. It's how the whole becomes greater than the sum of the pieces. So when we say, the world runs on information and money, this is not a casual observation or rhetorical framing. It is a structural claim about how modern systems actually function. Technology sits downstream of information. Strategy sits downstream of information. Culture acts as a transmission layer for information. Likewise, finance, funding, accumulation, extraction, and wealth preservation are all expressions of capital in motion. At a sufficiently high level of abstraction, this framing holds. It is not a metaphysical universal, but it is structurally durable. It survives scrutiny across institutions, eras, and domains. It explains more than it conceals. Once this structure becomes visible, the surrounding world reorganizes itself accordingly. Patterns clarify, incentives align, failures become legible. Why some nations dominate, why some ideas never leave the lab, why others reshape entire industries, why markets exist, why institutions harden, why coordination breakdowns manifest as crises. The fundamental divide is not ideological. It is not institutional. It is not even technological. It is the difference between aligned information and capital and everything else. That is the underlying structure. Two foundational inputs, one compounding force, and a world shaped constructively or destructively by how well they are brought into alignment. Flint West signing off.